use for public use.
And you're doing that.
And we've never really gotten underway with that. And we are going to be doing so.
You're taking people's land away
we have not.
From them. And those people in many cases are being executed. They're being executed. And they happen to be white, and most of them happen to be farmers. Mm-hmm. And that's a tough situation.
For public use.
And you're doing that.
And we've never really gotten underway with that. And we are going to be doing so.
You're taking people's land away
we have not.
From them. And those people in many cases are being executed. They're being executed. And they happen to be white, and most of them happen to be farmers.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. Let's start here. Let's start by understanding this. Why the US government will never invade South Africa. Why the US government will never invade South Africa. The US versus the curse of South Africa. The US versus the curse of South Africa. Okay. Now, it's very important. The curse of South Africa is something that we have been studying for a long time in this organization. In South Africa will succeed. In this organization, there is something called the curse of South Africa. And you guys are I'm about to explain just a brief, I'm about to explain 5% of it. Okay. But in essence, there's a reason why the US will never invade South Africa, the same way that they are doing to Nigeria, the same way that they are doing to Venezuela. They will never do that to us. Okay. Now, there's a reason for that. There's a very good reason for them. There's a very good reason for us. Okay. There's a very good reason why America will never invade South Africa. Because I'm seeing on the internet, people are saying, oh, are we next? Are we next? Is South Africa next? Is South Africa next? No, South Africa is not next. Okay. South Africa is not next. But something else is happening. Something else is happening. There is a fight going on. Make no mistake. Make no mistake, there is a fight going on between the US as a government, not Donald Trump personally. The US as a government is fighting the curse of South Africa. They are not fighting South Africa. They are fighting the curse of South Africa. Now, for all of you who don't know what the curse is, let me explain to you. Let me explain to you right now. Right? I'm going to explain to you right now. Before I do all of that, you guys need to make it a point that you hit the notification bell and hit like. Okay? Hit the notification bell and hit like. It's very important. I am giving you information that you have never heard of in your entire life. I'm giving you exclusives on exclusives on exclusives from an organization that has been investigating the ANC for almost 10 years. Okay. I think this is our 8th year. 2026 will be year number 8. Okay. We are on year number 8, fighting the ANC, fighting the DA, fighting all politicians in South Africa. Because these are the politicians that are continuing this curse. These politicians work for the same apartheid mafia. Okay. This is what you guys need to understand. And nobody's talking about this. The media is not going to talk about it. Nobody is talking about the actual problems of South Africa. Now, do you know what's funny? Everybody who investigates the ANC, everyone who investigates the ANC, we all end up going to the same conclusions. All of us, everybody who investigates the ANC, if you do a thorough investigation of what's actually going on in South Africa, your answer will be the same people that are controlling the apartheid government. That government was controlled by the same people that are controlling the ANC. This is why in South Africa, there is no actual freedom. There's no actual success for the citizens of South Africa. We are, listen, guys, listen to me. We are worse off today than back then. We are poorer today than back then. Okay. You need to understand that. We are poorer today than back then. The citizens of South Africa have never seen this much poverty. I mean, 70% poverty nationally, 70%. That's almost everyone. That is almost everyone. Okay. Now, the curse of South Africa. Oh, by the way, guys, before we continue, this is your president. Okay. Here's your president. This white man is your president. This white man is the person that Cyril Ramaphosa works for. Okay, this is the actual president. And the reason why I played this video in the first place, and the reason why it's important for us to note this meeting, is because this meeting is not the South African government having a meeting with the US. And that's where the problem is. America is not fighting the government of South Africa. America is fighting these people. It's very important for you guys to know this. The US is not fighting the government of South Africa. The US is fighting these people. Because the US recently found out something that everybody who wants to do business in South Africa ultimately finds out. You find out who's actually running South Africa. And you don't like it. Okay? You actually find out who's running South Africa. The people of the US, like Elon Musk, all the billionaires of the US want to establish themselves in South Africa. They want to establish businesses in South Africa, etc. Right? They want to have their little factories in South Africa, and they just want to conduct business in South Africa. And then when you try to do that, you eventually find out what I found out and my people found out in 2017. This is why when we bought land and we were trying to work on that land and build a tobacco plant because we wanted to manufacture our own cigarettes, you then find out who's controlling South Africa. You then find out who's the actual president, who's running things in this country. So America has recently found out that. And that is a problem. And I'm going to explain why that is a problem. This meeting was not about the government of South Africa. This meeting had nothing to do with South Africa, the government. This meeting was all about the US confronting the apartheid mafia who owns South Africa. That's big. That's all that happened. This meeting was about the apartheid mafia and its employees. Okay. This meeting had nothing to do with the government of South Africa and how the government conducts itself and da 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 da. Nothing. Okay. This was the US wanting to invest in South Africa and realizing that, wait, investing in South Africa means giving your money to these people. It doesn't mean investing in South Africa doesn't mean giving your money to the government of South Africa or to the citizens of South Africa. It means giving your money to them. And the US has a problem with that. It's that simple. So everybody who tries to investigate the actual happenings of South Africa, you will go to the same place. You investigate and ultimately go here. So in our organization, we started all of this a long time ago, and I keep doing lectures on this to the guys who are interested, to the guys that the new guys who keep joining us. We have a series, an entire series. It's part 1, part 2, part 3. The series is called South Africa's Curse. Okay. South Africa's Curse. It is a curse. It is a curse. South Africa's curse. The same people that were running and that experiment called apartheid, the same people that invented that experiment are the same people who invented BEE. Okay. The people that were running the apartheid government and funding the apartheid banks, the same people that were all the minds during that era All the mines, all of that money, that apartheid money, all of those is the same people that got Nansika out of prison. This man, Nelson Mandela, out of prison, and then they introduced all these laws to the ANC, BEE, and all these laws. Okay, it's the same people, right? The same people that ran an experiment called apartheid are the same people that are running an experiment right now called BEE and land expropriation without compensation. It's the same people. Okay. And it's also the same people that are destroying the ANC. So the same people that built the apartheid government and destroyed it are the same people that built the ANC government and now destroying it. Okay. So the curse of South Africa is you will always end up at the same place. Black people are poorer today than they were back then. And it's gonna continue, guys. It's gonna continue. It's gonna continue. These people own everything in South Africa. Everything. Okay? These people own everything. Now, this is the British Mafia. The curse of South Africa is the British Mafia. Okay? The British Mafia, and they have a name. I'm just not gonna mention all their names in this video. I'm not gonna do that in this video. Okay? I'm not going to mention all their names and who they are and their families. That's for part 2 of this video. And even with that, we are not going to go deep into it because this is YouTube. Okay? This is YouTube. I'm telling you things that are acceptable, appropriate for YouTube. So you are getting a PG-13 version of everything. Okay? South Africa's curse is the British Mafia. The British Mafia today, because they keep changing their establishments, right? These are the same people that were owning the mines back in the day, and they built Eskom, and they built Telkom, and all of those pieces, the same people. Today, they own the biggest financial institution in Africa, the entire continent of Africa, the South African Reserve Bank. Okay, the South African Reserve Bank belongs to the British Mafia. So in essence, the South African Reserve Bank is not the South African Reserve Bank. It's the South African Reserve Bank is the British Mafia Bank. Okay, now the British Mafia Bank is an instrument where they control everything in South Africa. So the South African Reserve Bank, or the real name is the actual name, is the British Mafia Bank. Okay, that's how they run everything in South Africa. So your Telkom Mobile, your Vodacom, your bank, Standard Bank, this bank, that bank, FNB, MTN, Cell C, Economic Freedom Fraudulent Fighters, the Democratic Alliance, everything that you see in South Africa is owned by these people. BEB, Shoprite Checkers, everything is these people over here. Okay, it's the British Mafia. Okay, they are the ones who actually. This is the real government is these guys. Okay, and it is owned by foreigners. It is owned by British families. Make no mistake. Google can tell you that. Look at this. Google can tell you that. Google AI can tell you that. So you don't even have to take my word for it. You don't even have to take my word for it. Okay. Google AI can tell you. So this information is out there. So this is why Cyril Ramaphosa goes around the world borrowing money. Look, Cyril Ramaphosa has just finished his first term. Why is this man so far? This man has borrowed 6 trillion. So from the IMF to the World Bank, the Chinese bank, this bank and that bank, and this man has borrowed this much money that the South African Revenue Services, SARS, has to pay back. So he borrows this money and gives it to his friends. Who? These guys. Okay. That's a part of his job. His job is to go around the world borrowing money to give to these guys. I want you to think about this. This man has borrowed 6 trillion rand in his first term. So my point is, you can clearly see that this country is being destroyed economically. Guys, these people are destroying South Africa in more ways than you can think, in more ways than you understand as an average citizen. So the goal is to destroy this country. So if you can consider the foreigners, the 30 million foreigners that are in South Africa, 30 million foreigners are in South Africa. Okay? The foreigners that are in South Africa, the education system that doesn't work, the South African Defense Force, which is they don't work, the SAPS that doesn't work, the any government institution they don't work. All of these things compound all of this plus everything else. Okay, so our country is being destroyed now. Here's the biggest scam. The biggest scam is that you guys think you can vote your way out of this. Last year, the DA gave all your votes to the ANC. So even though the majority of South Africans, 61% of all South Africans did not vote for the ANC, what did the DA do? What did this witch do? Give your votes to the ANC. Even though 61% of all South Africans did not vote for the ANC, the DA came along and saved the ANC without the ANC having to change any law. So this is living proof that all your politicians work for the same people. Because if the DA was an independent organization that just wanted to work with the ANC, right? Like you think in your head, you think the DA is just an independent organization and they just wanted to work with the ANC. Okay, why didn't they have any terms and conditions to say, hey, get rid of BEE? Hey, land expropriation without compensation, get rid of that thing. Hey, get rid of this and do this right and that and do that right and do this right and do that right. How is it that the ANC has kept all their laws, even though all of us know these laws are destroying our country? How is it that the ANC, who 61% of the South African vote did not vote for, okay? 61% of all voting South Africans did not vote for the ANC. How is it that the ANC is still in power and they kept all their laws? So I'm saying that to prove a point to you that all your politicians work for the British mafia. Okay, the same people that the apartheid government was working for. Apartheid was a British invention. It was invented in Europe. Apartheid was not a South African. It was not these guys, the Afrikaner mafia. No, the Afrikaner mafia are just like the ANC. The Afrikaner mafia are just like the ANC. It's a group of politicians who the British government captured. It's just like the ANC. There's no difference. Okay, there's absolutely no difference. So South Africa is now a joke. Look at our defense force. Look at these guys. Our country is such a joke. You can tell these people are trying to destroy South Africa. The reason why I'm showing you all of these things, I want you guys to understand. This country is not ran by people who are incompetent. No. That's just the media. The media wants to. The media and all these people, all these influencers want you to believe, and all these podcasts, all of them want you to believe that, oh, we are just ran by thugs and we are just ran by people who are incompetent and people who are corrupt. No. Your country is being destroyed by people who know how to destroy countries, people who have been destroying countries for a long time. This is not the first time they're destroying South Africa. They invented apartheid and they destroyed it. It's not the first time. Okay? It's not the first time that these people are collapsing the same country. I want you to think about that. Okay? I want you to think about what I've just said. It's not the first time they're destroying the same country. Your South African Defense Force is full of people who should be in an old age home. This country is being destroyed. It's being made a joke to destroy it because they have another agenda, which we'll talk about on part 2 of this video. Okay, right now I'm just introducing you guys to these concepts. I'm explaining a few things here. I'm not gonna tell you right now what their agenda is. We will discuss their agenda on part 2. Okay. But for today, I just wanted you guys to know what's really going on. And the thing is, Everybody that does their research, you will, guys, when you do your research, you will end up at the same families. Even when you do the apartheid research, when you do your apartheid research, you will realize that no, man, those families that are being, and I'm talking about at the top of the top of the top of the top, the people that were running and the people that were instrumental in the apartheid days, the Oppenheimers, for instance. I'm going to mention one family, Oppenheimers. They were there during the apartheid days, owning things during the apartheid days, and they are there owning the Reserve Bank today. Okay. These were the same people that arrested Madiba, and then almost 30 years later, they said, okay, Madiba must come out of prison and work for us. It's the same people. The same people who arrested Mandela were the same people who said, okay, he must come out of prison and now work for us. Almost 30 years later. Okay. And what I like now is that more and more South Africans are starting to wake up. More and more South Africans, and even other people like the US, for instance, other people around the world, as soon as they investigate South Africa's history, the proper history, proper intelligence, right? As soon as you investigate proper intelligence, you end up at the same families all the time. This man, Rutendo something, this foreigner who's apparently he's a legal foreigner in South Africa. This guy, he's presenting his findings. The same thing, he's presenting his findings over here, and it's the same thing. And I'll play on episode 2 of this series where I explain to you guys the relationship between the US and South Africa and the actual problem of the US. On episode 2 of this series, I'm going to explain to you why they are doing all of this, right? But specifically, this man is presenting his findings. He's done his research and is presenting his findings. And he's ending up on the same, it's the same thing, guys. Please listen to this. Just a few seconds, please listen to this.
Let's bring in independent analyst Rutendo Martin-Yarare, who believes that South Africa can learn lessons from neighboring Zimbabwe insofar as SOEs here in the country are concerned. Rutendo, let me thank you for your time this morning. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming into studio. And you've penned quite an interesting article that talks about the lessons that South Africa can learn insofar as SOEs are concerned and Zimbabwe's Zisco Steel. Tell us some of the sort of key findings you've come up with.
Right. Thank you so much for the opportunity. You know, for me, what I've realized is that many people in Africa don't yet understand how the world works. It's a race for resources, and capitalism is about captivating and capturing resources in order to build monopolies. And so what we saw with Zisco Steel was sabotage of Zisco Steel by monopoly makers. And these monopoly makers were companies like Anglo America, ISCO of South Africa, Lancaster Steel, and Woest Alpine that was manufacturing the machines that were used in smelting iron and steel in Zimbabwe. Now, Zisco Steel is in many ways very similar to Eskom. Zisco Steel was the biggest steel and iron manufacturer in the Southern Hemisphere, the biggest in Africa, the biggest in Brazil, Australia. And what the problem was when we got independence, the Western world was not happy to bestow an African country with the ability to produce iron and the ability to sophisticate iron and to create military hardware and industrial hardware that would have industrialized Zimbabwe or Africa. The reason being, once the Second World War ended, there was a plan called the Morgenthau Plan. The Morgenthau Plan was supposed to deindustrialize Japan and Germany so that they would never rise to become superpowers that would challenge the Western world or the Western banking system. So what they did is they wanted to turn them into agrarian societies, take out their industry, block their mines, take their workers that were most technical and take them out of Germany and out of Japan so that these countries could never rise to industrialize. Eventually what happened is Germany's lack of development, Japan's lack of development made it difficult for the West to compete with Russia. It made it difficult for the West to compete with Russia, which was now bringing communism. So they were forced to allow Germany and Japan to develop so that Western capitalism could show as an example in these regions as a success. But For this Western capitalism to take place, for the Marshall Plan to be given to these Western countries to rise themselves up, they needed cheap resources. So what did they have to do? They had to now take the Morganville Plan, this underdevelopment plan, this agrarian society plan to Africa. And so that meant that they had to deindustrialize African countries that had just come out of colonialism to ensure that they'll never be able to sophisticate their resources so that those resources will be passed on.
So keep African countries sort of under your thumb?
Correct.
So that you can use them to your benefit.
And this is exactly what's happening here in South Africa with Eskom. Because you have to understand that Eskom itself was created by a private monopoly that was led by Cecil John Rhodes' company, the British South Africa company. And it created Eskom as private entities initially, where they were providing electricity to a lot of the mining industries. And with the biggest mining industry in the world in South Africa, you quickly developed the biggest electricity supplier in the world. So what they realize is that if you want to be the biggest electricity supplier, you have to consolidate all these small electricity suppliers and make one electricity supplier, which became the Victoria Falls Power Supply Company that was owned by Cecil John Rhodes. And if you remember, all British South Africa companies were then taken by Anglo-America. Anglo-America is the same one that we see having a problem in Zisco Steel. So Anglo-America becomes this agent of sabotaging Africa to ensure that it doesn't industrialize and to keep the industrialization capacity in areas controlled by whites, which is why it lasted in apartheid South Africa.
So how does this play into the current state of Eskom, though?
Right.
Because when we talk about the current state of Eskom, we're talking about the state capture years of the past 12 years, right? How does this history help us understand what happened during the state capture years?
That's a false narrative. The state captures happened with Anglo-America and white capital. And then this false narrative that a company like the Guptas that control less than 5% of the economy have captured the state
How
is
is
false.
it a false narrative, though? We've just had an entire commission of inquiry detailing how lieutenants of the Guptas and particular government leaders were put in Eskom and other SOEs with the chief aim of looting it, of hollowing it out through corruption.
The state inquiry is a farce. It's an embarrassment, quite frankly.
The state capture inquiry?
Yes, because it's false. That's why you see that even Glencore doesn't appear.
Wait, you're saying the state capture inquiry is false?
It's a
the
farce.
Evidence that we heard for 2 years is false and a farce?
It was tailored evidence to manufacture consent to a certain narrative, but it's not true.
What isn't true?
It's not true that the people that were questioned on the State Capture Commission are the capturers of the state. You have a situation where Anglo-America controlled 60% of this economy, followed by the Ruperts, who controlled another 20%, and so forth and so on. How is it that people that have less than 5% of the economy capture the economy?
But the estimates are this morning, Rutendo, that hundreds of billions left our country through state capture. And there's forensic evidence detailing exactly that.
Where's the forensic evidence being tested for you to prove that as a reality? It is a narrative.
Well, we're living with the reality, aren't we?
So let's give you a reality again. Remember we heard that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
Let's bring in independent analyst Rutendo Martin-Yarare, who believes that South Africa
doesn't appear.
Wait, you're saying the state capture inquiry is false?
It's a
the
farce.
Evidence that we heard for 2 years is false and a farce?
It was tailored evidence to manufacture consent to a certain narrative, but it's not true.
What isn't true?
It's not true that the people that were questioned on the State Capture Commission are the capturers of the state.
And then Rutendo, guys, Rutendo is going to tell you who owns South Africa's economy. He's going to tell you who owns South Africa's economy. He's going to say it.
You have a situation where Anglo-America controlled 60% of this economy, followed by the Ruperts, who controlled another 20%, and so forth and so on. How is it that people that have less than 5% of the economy capture the economy?
But the estimates are this morning, Rutendo,
you get to the root cause of the problem that you have in South Africa. And I'm saying Zisco Steel, Anglo-America was central to the destruction of Zisco Steel to maintain white monopoly and white capture. And let me tell you another thing. Whenever a society has had a crime against humanity happen against it, we usually have, for instance, with Nazi Germany, people being brought to book, people being taken to court and taken out of society. In South Africa, you've got a problem in the aspect that in South Africa, we had the very same people that perpetuated the crime against humanity still running society, running the media, running the companies, running banking, and continuously perpetuating the crimes of apartheid in a modern day democracy by lies and doing the same things that were done during apartheid. We will never know the truth as long as the criminals of the apartheid system are running the economy for the same ends and the same purposes of apartheid, which was exploitation of the mineral resources of this country. And remember, Eskom was built off the gold, platinum, and exploitation of the diamonds of South Africa. And when the mining companies were paying for those services, they were not paying enough in order to allow for replacement cost in future. They were simply making money for the moment. What we've got now is that we've got an Eskom that did not save enough from the services that it gave these mining companies. Those profits went into the mining companies that are outside the country. Some of them are leaving because the gold is finished. Some of them are leaving because iron is finished. And they've taken the profits that should have been channeled into Eskom, that should have been part and parcel of the replacement cost and the depreciation of what Eskom would need to rebuild itself today. And the bankers have also sabotaged you in the aspect that the moment we get to 2017, you see a company called Future Growth that belongs to Old Mutual saying that we'll no longer give loans to SOEs, particularly Eskom. And so that started a regime of sanctions, of trying to bleed the government and not give it money to build its infrastructure. They also said they would influence other financiers across the world not to give South African SOEs and the South African government money. That is a regime change agenda. And that is an agenda to deindustrialize South Africa, as I've been saying with the
I have to interrupt you there, Attendo.
Oh, guys, please listen to this. Listen to this again. I'm going to play this again. Please listen to this.
Cause of the problem that you have in South Africa. And I'm saying Zisco Steel, Anglo-America was central to the destruction of Zisco Steel to maintain white monopoly and white capture. And let me tell you another thing. Whenever a society has had a crime against humanity happen against it, we usually have, for instance, with Nazi Germany, people being brought to book, people being taken to court and taken out of society. In South Africa, you've got a problem in the aspect that in South Africa, we had the very same people that perpetuated the crime against humanity still running society, running the media, running the companies, running banking, and continuously perpetuating the crimes of apartheid in a modern day democracy by lies and doing the same things that were done during apartheid. We will never know the truth as long as the criminals of the apartheid system are running the economy for the same ends and the same purposes of apartheid, which was exploitation of the mineral resources of this country. And remember,
guys, the reason why it's important, the reason why I play this guy, and the reason why it's important for us to listen to this guy is because he's naming them company by company. All these shell companies, all these ghost companies that are used by the apartheid families. The same people that were controlling the apartheid government, he's naming their companies.
Eskom was built off the gold, platinum, and exploitation of the diamonds of South Africa. And when the mining companies were paying for those services, they were not paying enough in order to allow for replacement cost in future. They were simply making money for the moment. What we've got now is that we've got an Eskom that did not save enough from the services that it gave these mining companies. Those profits went into the mining companies that are outside the country. Some of them are leaving because the gold is finished. Some of them are leaving because iron is finished. And they've taken the profits that should have been channeled into Eskom, that should have been part and parcel of the replacement cost and the depreciation of what Eskom would need to rebuild itself today. And the bankers have also sabotaged you in the aspect that the moment we get to 2017, you see a company called Future Growth that belongs to Old Mutual saying that we'll no longer give loans to SOEs, particularly Eskom. And so that started a regime of sanctions, of trying to bleed the government and not give it money to build its infrastructure. They also said they would influence other financiers across the world not to give South African SOEs and the South African government money. That is a regime change agenda. And that is an agenda to deindustrialize South Africa, as I've been saying with the
I have to interrupt you there, Attendo.
Guys, everybody who does their thorough research comes to this conclusion. I'm playing Rutendo right now because I don't want it to come from me. I've already been an activist of this. I've already made my lectures. Since 2017, we've already been fighting. My point is, locally, everybody knows me and knows my work, what I stand for, and my research and the private investigators that we are working with, and everybody. My point is, we as South Africa will succeed. Our organization is already established at spreading this information. Now I am finding all these other people are South Africans in this country. There are other videos I'm going to play tomorrow, or no, in 2 days. In 2 days, I'm going to play a few videos of other people who've come to the same conclusion. Same conclusion. The same people that were messing around during the apartheid days are now the same people that they released Nelson Mandela, and they're controlling the ANC, and everything that is done by the ANC is controlled by these people.
I'm trying to understand how profitability, we were exporting our excess power outside of the country as well.
You were doing that while 70% of South Africa didn't have electricity. Many people were living in darkness in a country that was producing what you call...
20 years ago, not
yes,
27.
I'm talking about 20 years ago. 20 years ago, you did not have electricity for everybody. You actually had 70% of your people without electricity.
Yeah.
They were excluded. And the labor of these people, the pittance that they were being paid in mines and the jobs that they were working where they were paid 10% of what a white person doing the same job would earn, was money that was being used to subsidize ESCOM for it to be a social welfare system for the mining
so
companies.
So you're saying the success of ESCOM 2 decades ago was a false narrative?
It was a false narrative. And it was a false narrative that if we allow ourselves to make that narrative, then we become complicit with an apartheid system that excluded 70% of the people because they were black and we don't care about them, yet we only gave services to 30% who were basically being subsidized by those that didn't have electricity.
Okay, let's talk about Medupi and Kusile power stations that are wholly over budget, to the tune of billions. I'm on my phone now trying to find the exact number. Wholly over budget insofar as what was budgeted initially. In terms of maintenance costs, it's hundreds of billions of rands in excess. Okay, who do we blame that on?
Right, that's a good question. And I always like to use history as my guide. So what is happening at Medupi and Kusile has happened before when they were creating ESCOM. We had a company that was called Dick and Kerr. Dick and Kerr company was supposed to provide electricity for Johannesburg municipality for its tram system and the electricity in Johannesburg, plus rand mines. So what they did is they went to buy machinery from England in order to power the generation of power that was going to be generated by engines. We're talking 1905. And so they got engines from the English who were not good at making electricity machinery. The electricity machinery was mainly made by Germans, particularly AEG, Siemens, and other companies like that. They made the best machines, but the economy was controlled by the British, and they wanted their British companies to get the contracts to provide the machinery. So what happened with this company, this Dick and Kerr, is that all their machinery started collapsing. People were dying on the job. People were being asphyxiated in the plant because it was burning gas, but that gas was becoming toxic. Eventually, this entire plant collapsed. But even the collapse of this plant was very weird. We had trams that sank at sea. We had one of the chief engineers dying on the job. The very same things you're seeing happening with ESCOM, which looked like sabotage, that was done by the Victoria Falls power company that was owned by Rhodes so that they would get a monopoly. So eventually the entire plant of Dick and Kerr collapsed. And that, many people say, was because of the English machinery that was obsolete. Some people say it was because of sabotage by these guys who wanted to build a monopoly. Today, this is what's happening at Kusile. Kusile, we've got Hitachi that's come in. They're not the best at producing electricity power. They're not the best at generating electricity power. So there is a chance that we've chosen the wrong service provider. But there is also a chance that what happened in the past, the sabotage that could be happening at these plants by other interests that are trying to perpetuate a monopoly that existed, and we've learned this in history before. And so if you look at what's happened at Kusile, we actually need a commission of inquiry, which is what they did in 1910. They had a commission of inquiry to find out what was happening in the electricity. This commission of inquiry was a farce. It was not honest, it did not have the right questions, and it did not look at the right scope. You cannot have a commission inquiry of state capture. You do not have a Glencore in there. You do not have Anglo-America in there. You do not have, the Ruperts in there. You do not have the owners of capital, people like Old Mutual, who had been sabotaging this region, even during apartheid, to ensure that apartheid never ended. We cannot have a commission of inquiry that doesn't look at those criminals.
All right, Rutendo Matinyarare.
This guy just mentioned some of these businesses. I'm going to play this one more time. I'm going to play the end one more time. One more time.
have the right questions, and it did not look at the right scope. You cannot have a commission inquiry of state capture. You do not have a Glencore in there. You do not have Anglo America in there. You do not have the Ruperts in there. You do not have the owners of capital, people like Old Mutual, who had been sabotaging this region even during apartheid to ensure that apartheid never ended. We cannot have a commission of inquiry that doesn't look at those criminals.
All right.
Okay. So today, here we are. Today we are here. Here we are, right? After everything that's been going on in South Africa, after all the fighting and organizations such as ours that have been spreading the information and fighting the ANC and fighting the DA and fighting all these people, after all of this fighting, today we are here. The US is going around because they're desperate. America is desperate. Okay? They are going around the world wanting to expand. Okay, so they are implementing all these strategies, these expansion strategies of theirs, and now the latest plan was to invade Venezuela, and they did what they did with the president, which was awful. It was awful. Okay, it was awful. It was awful what they also did to Nigeria. That was also awful. Okay, but the issue still stands. There is still a problem between the US, America, their government, and the people that are running South Africa. So basically what happened is this: the US and all the business people in the US who want to expand and basically do business with other countries. Now you have Elon Musk there, and you have a bunch of other guys there, right? All of these guys want to expand into South Africa. Okay. The issue is they can't expand into South Africa because they found out what everybody else found out. So they found out what we found out, and then they found out what everybody else is finding out. South Africa, listen to me, guys. Okay. South Africa is not a country. Okay. South Africa is ran by a mafia. The mafia is using the ANC as sort of like a brand ambassador. You know how brands, these companies, Nike, they use the celebrities. The British mafia that has been using the apartheid government, okay, the same families that were there using the apartheid government, they are now using the ANC and all these laws, BEE, land expropriation without compensation, and all these laws. Okay. All of these laws are there to fit their agenda. Another one is this BRICS. For all those of you who think that President Jacob Zuma was not a part of all of this nonsense, President Jacob Zuma was clearly a part of this thing. President Jacob Zuma, he was the one who executed that whole thing against President Thabo Mbeki, getting rid of President Thabo Mbeki. That whole thing that the ANC did, getting rid of President Thabo Mbeki, they were not getting rid of President Thabo Mbeki, they were getting rid of the ANC. Okay, they were destroying the ANC, they were destroying South Africa. Okay, they were getting rid of everybody in the ANC that still had common sense. And now we are here, right? The US has found out that South Africa, there is no such thing as South Africa. It's not South Africa. In essence, it's South Brittain. Okay. South Africa is a version of Britain that's not ran by the British government, that's ran by a few British business people, right? So South Africa is not South Africa, it's South Brittain. Okay. This is why you have BRICS and all of these things, all of these crazy things. The US is finding out that you can't do business in South Africa without sharing your money with the British Mafia. So this is where these laws, BEE, come from. Land expropriation without compensation comes from. All these laws, these crazy, crazy laws. And these laws are crazy and demonic. Make no mistake. These laws are crazy and demonic, and they are impractical, and they are there to just destroy our economy. The purpose of these laws is to destroy the economy of South Africa. And they're doing a very good job, by the way. The destruction of South Africa, they are really destroying South Africa, these guys. Okay, they were destroying South Africa back when we started our organization in 2017. So if we started this organization in 2017, look at where we are today. We were complaining back then that our country is being destroyed. Look at what they have done since then. Okay, America is realizing that South Africa is not a country. It's just a British colony that's owned by old British families who owned the apartheid regime. So nobody can do business in South Africa without giving 30% of your money to who? The owners of the Reserve Bank. Nobody can do business in South Africa. Elon Musk can't come to South Africa and just start a factory and pay tax and pay anything he has to pay, all that money that Elon Musk has. He can't just come to South Africa and pay a tax like everybody else. You say, okay, Elon, you want to build a factory. Okay, first thing you need to do is to pay the government of South Africa. You are buying land, okay, but you must first pay the operational costs and this and that and this and that and this and that, and we must prepare the land for you. So just pay 5 billion rand, and then you can conduct your business to the government. So if BEE was like that, if BEE was saying, okay, all you have to do is pay us 5 billion rand, which is how much? 300 million US dollars, right? If that's all they took, Elon and all those guys would have built organizations in South Africa a long time ago. Long time ago. South Africa would be a different place. But that's not BEE. BEE is not that. BEE is not merely you giving your money away, buying land in a country or paying tax. BEE is them having control of your enterprise. And they are just saying BEE as in the British Mafia is using Patrice Motsepe, okay, or Cyril Ramaphosa as just the face of their companies. But in essence, the people that will really own your company is the British Mafia. That is what's happening in South Africa, guys. That's the issue with the US government and every other person around the world that wants to do business in South Africa. And there are plenty of them. There are plenty of people who actually want to do business in South Africa, and they can't. They can't. Nobody, even you, as I said, guys, even you, if you want to buy land and open some kind of a tobacco factory, you can't. You can't. You now, as a South African man or a South African female, you can't. Even if you have the money, even if you have 50 million rand to do something in South Africa, you can't. They'll tell you don't comply. Okay. Now, basically, that's what's happening in South Africa with the US. The US is finding out that, wait, so South Africa is not an actual government. South Africa is not ran by the government of South Africa. South Africa is ran by British people. And if you want to do business in South Africa, you must give them 30% of your business. These British people. It's not as easy as just coming to South Africa, paying the government of South Africa 5 billion rand or 10 billion rand, right? Which is 700 million US dollars. Okay? You can't just, Elon can't come here and just give us 10 billion rand and say, hey guys, I want to do business in South Africa. Here's some cash money. Here's 10 billion. Let us conduct our business in peace. And then you allow Elon to conduct his business in peace. That's not how it works. They want to control your business. The British Mafia wants to control your business. That is the issue. You want to open a mine in South Africa, you must go to Patrice Motsepe's bosses, which is the British Mafia. They'll let Patrice Motsepe, the British Mafia, will say, okay, do business with Patrice. Patrice is obviously, Patrice's organizations, Patrice owns 20% of that thing. 80% is the British Mafia. Everything they do, everything Ramaphosa does, and everything all these ANC people do. All these ANC people, everything they own, it's only 20%. Okay, they own shares at Old Mutual, at FNB, they own shares everywhere. Vodacom, everywhere. They own shares. These people everywhere. So the US government is not doing business with the South African government. I want you guys to understand that. America is not doing business with South Africa, the government. America is doing business with the British Mafia. And they have a problem with that. Here's why they have a problem with that. America is trying to establish itself away from BRICS. America doesn't want to join BRICS. So why would Americans, the people of the US, give 30% of their businesses to people who are aligned to BRICS? Okay. Why would you give your business, as Elon Musk, why would you give 30% of your business to the British Mafia, to BRICS? The same people that are trying to destroy the American currency. The same people that are trying to destroy America's currency. Why would any American, any sound-minded American, come to South Africa, do a BEE deal where the British Mafia will end up owning 30% of your business and your money and everything, the bank itself, everything? They'll end up owning 30% of your business, and they'll end up telling you and your land as well, so you can't even buy a factory in South Africa because they will own that land, they'll own that factory. That's why they were doing this land expropriation thing that Donald Trump, in the beginning of this video, Donald Trump was asking particularly about their land laws. That is the problem. Now, you need to understand this. This problem is not going to get fixed by America invading South Africa and, let's say, getting rid of Ramaphosa or the ANC. The DA will continue the same thing. The EFF will continue the same thing. Umkhonto Corruption Party, Gaten McKenzie, all of them, everybody, every South African politician will continue the same thing. Okay? That's ultimately what's happening. So the US is not going to benefit anything by bombing South Africa at all. They're not going to benefit anything at all. At all. They're not going to benefit anything by bombing South Africa. At all. And that's something they figured out. They figured out that bombing South Africa is not the answer. Okay? Because if you want to solve South Africa, listen to me, guys. If you want to solve South Africa, if you want to solve South Africa's problems, if you actually want to solve South Africa's problems, destroy the Reserve Bank. That will be step number one. Now, how you destroy the Reserve Bank is up to you. How you destroy the Reserve Bank, that, my friend, that is completely up to you. We have our own ways of doing it. As South Africa will succeed, we have an entire document on how step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6, step 7, step 8. We have a few steps as to how to rebuild South Africa's economy. Okay? We have all of this written down. We have a few steps. We have documents of how to fix South Africa and rebuild this whole thing. I am just giving you information right now. Right now, I'm giving you information that I can share on YouTube. Okay. Otherwise, if you truly are serious about saving South Africa, that Reserve Bank, do something about that Reserve Bank. That is the only way, is to do something about that Reserve Bank. You are not going to destroy the ANC and replace it with the DA is stupid. We're not gonna win. And replacing the DA with Umkhonto Wesizwe is stupid. And replacing Umkhonto Wesizwe with Julius the scammer, all of those things are just stupid. You are just wasting your life. Okay, you are wasting your life. The only way to have a positive impact in South Africa is to destroy that Reserve Bank, and that has to be done in a particular way. You're not going to destroy the Reserve Bank of South Africa by simply bombing it down. You're not going to do that. They'll just open another building. They'll build another building next door, They'll just build another big building next door to that one. You're not gonna. So there is a particular way, and as people, this organization, South Africa will succeed. As this organization, we have figured all of it out. We know how to save this country. As South Africa will succeed. We know how South Africa, the actual answer to South Africa's problems. We know that. Okay. Because we've been studying these people for a long time. We know exactly where to hit, what to do specifically. We can save South Africa without a war being done in South Africa. We can do that. We can save this country without a war. But also, that's step one. That's the first alternative, is to save South Africa without a war. The second alternative is to save South Africa with a war. Okay. And right now, it seems as though the most effective and the fastest way to solve South Africa's problems is to first deal with these politicians. The fastest way is to just deal with the politicians first. The cheapest way, the most cost-effective way, is to first attack the politicians before you can attack the Reserve Bank and attack all those guys, because those guys are trillionaires. Okay, you're not gonna win with those guys. Step one is attacking the politicians, attacking their puppets. That is the first step and the cheapest step. Okay, guys, that's it for me. Guys, don't forget to hit the notification bell and like this video. Please, it's important. Notification bell and liking this video is important. I'm gonna do a part 2 of this. Okay, I'm gonna do a part 2 of this video. The part 2 will be shorter. I'm gonna try to make it 15 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna try to make it 15 minutes. We are gonna go just a bit deeper. We're gonna go YouTube deep. Just a bit deeper, because there's something that you guys need to understand quickly. Just a small thing. Okay, it's just a small little thing that you guys need to understand. As far as the families that are controlling the apartheid government and the families that are controlling this government. Okay. May God bless you, South Africa. May God bless your families. Okay. And trust me when I say this, we are fighting for this country. We've been fighting for such a long time. And I'm happy that God is waking you guys up. I am so happy that more and more South Africans are doing their own research and they are paying for their own research. Because this is information that you have to pay for. Okay? You are paying for your own research. You are paying for your own information. And a lot of people are coming out with the truth. And I really love that. Guys, I thank God every day that South Africans are waking up. I thank God every day. It's time to wake up, guys. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. South Africa belongs to us. South Africa doesn't belong to these old men who are just evil. These old evil men. South Africa doesn't belong to them at all. South Africa doesn't belong to these people. It's time for us to transform this country, guys. Don't give up hope. I see a lot of people, on social media, people are giving up hope. Guys, people like me have been fighting for this country for such a long time. We have been fighting for this country. We have been praying for South Africa and fighting, asking God, talking to God, saying, God, there has to be a plan. And I'm telling you right now, I'm saying this to show you that God does have a plan for South Africa. I'm saying this to show you that God has not forgotten about South Africa. Listen, if you are going through a difficult time right now, if you are in poverty, because 70% of you are living in poverty, by the way. So I know that most of you who are listening to me are living in poverty. I'm telling you right now, a plan, we are fighting. Don't give up, we are fighting. My brother, my sister, we are fighting, okay? We are fighting. Whether you are black or white, please understand, there are a few South Africans out there who are fighting for this country. Don't give up, guys. Please hold on, okay? Hold on. We are fighting. We will work, okay? We will succeed, okay? So that's it, man. May God bless you guys. May God protect your families. Cheers.